a broadcasting and receiving station for thought. The 12th step toward riches is an understanding of the brain. More than 20 years ago, the author, working in conjunction with the late Dr. Alexander Graham Bell and Dr. Elmer R. Gates, observed that every human brain serves as both a broadcasting and a receiving station for the vibration of thought through the medium of the ether. In a fashion similar to that used by the radio broadcasting principle, every human brain is capable of picking up vibrations of thought that are being released by other brains. In connection with this, one should consider the description of the creative imagination. This faculty is the receiving set of the brain, which receives thoughts released by others. It is the agency of communication between one's conscious, reasoning mind and the sources from which one may receive thought, stimuli. When the mind is stimulated or stepped up to a high rate of vibration, it becomes more receptive to thought vibrations that reach it from outside sources. This stepping up process takes place through either the positive emotions or the negative emotions. Vibrations of an exceedingly high rate are the only ones picked up and carried by the ether from one brain to another. Thought, which has been modified or stepped up by any of the major emotions, vibrates at a much higher rate than ordinary thought. It is this type of thought that passes between brains. The emotion of sex stands at the head of the list of human emotions in terms of intensity and driving force. The brain stimulated by this emotion vibrates at a much more rapid rate. The result of sex transmutation is the increase of thought vibration to such a pitch that the creative imagination becomes highly receptive to ideas. On the other hand, when the brain is vibrating at this rapid rate, it not only attracts ideas released by other brains, but it also gives to one's own thoughts that feeling which is essential before those thoughts will be picked up and acted upon by one's subconscious mind. Thus, the broadcasting principle is the factor through which an individual mixes emotion with their thoughts and passes them on to their subconscious mind. To summarize the mechanism, the subconscious mind is the sending station of the brain, through which vibrations of thought are broadcast. The creative imagination is the receiving set, through which thought vibrations are picked up from the ether. Autosuggestion is the medium by which one may put their broadcasting station into operation. The operation of this mental broadcasting station is a comparatively simple procedure. It requires bearing in mind and applying just 3 principles: a subconscious mind, creative imagination, and autosuggestion. The procedure to put them into action begins with desire. The greatest forces are intangible through the ages. Man has depended too much upon his physical senses, limiting his knowledge to physical things he could see, touch, weigh, and measure. We are now entering an age which will teach us about the intangible forces of the world. Perhaps we shall learn that the other self is more powerful than the physical self we see in a mirror. Sometimes men speak lightly of the intangibles. When we hear them, it should remind us that all of us are controlled by forces which are unseen and intangible. Mankind does not have the power to control the intangible force wrapped up in the rolling waves of the oceans. Man does not have the capacity to understand, much less control, the intangible force of gravity, which keeps this earth suspended in mid-air and keeps man from falling from it. Man is helpless in the presence of the intangible force of electricity. He does not even know what it is, where it comes from, or its purpose. He also does not understand the intangible force and intelligence wrapped up in the soil of the earth, the force which provides him with every morsel of food, every article of clothing, and every dollar he possesses. The dramatic story of the brain last and greatest of all the intangibles. Man understands little or nothing of the intangible force of thought. He knows but little about the physical brain and its vast, intricate network through which the power of thought is translated into its material equivalent. Men of science have begun to study this stupendous thing called the brain. While still in the kindergarten stage, they have uncovered enough to know that the number of lines connecting the brain cells one with another equals the figure 1, followed by 15 million CIPHERS. Dr. C. Judson Herrick of the University of Chicago noted that this figure is so stupendous that astronomical figures become insignificant by comparison. He stated that there are from 10 to 14 billion nerve cells in the human cerebral cortex, arranged in definite, orderly, non-haphazard patterns. It is inconceivable that such a network of intricate machinery should exist only for the purpose of carrying on the physical functions of the body. Is it not likely that the same system which allows billions of brain cells to communicate with one another also provides the means of communication with other intangible forces? After this book was written, an editorial in the New York Times analyzed the work of Dr. Rhine at Duke University, whose research reached conclusions that parallel many of those described here. The editorial, titled, "What is Telepathy?" summarized the findings. Dr. Rhine's experiments, involving over 100,000 tests, made the existence of telepathy and clairvoyance seem enormously probable. Recipients were asked to name cards in a special pack without sensory access to them. About 20 individuals were discovered who could do this so regularly that there was not one chance in many, a million of their having done their feats by luck or accident. These powers, assuming they exist, do not seem to be sensory, as there is no known organ for them. The experiments worked just as well at distances of several hundred miles. This disposes of the idea of physical radiation, as all known forms of radiant energy decline with distance, whereas telepathy and clairvoyance do not. However, these powers do vary through physical causes. They do not improve when the percipient is asleep. On the contrary, they work best when the person is most wide awake and alert. Dr. Rhine discovered that a narcotic will invariably lower a score, while a stimulant will always send it higher. One conclusion drawn is that telepathy and clairvoyance are really the same gift. The faculty that sees a card face down seems to be the same one that reads a thought in another mind. In every person found, the two gifts were of equal vigor, almost exactly. In light of Dr. Rhine's announcements, the author feels privileged to add his own testimony. He and his associates discovered what they believe to be the ideal conditions for stimulating the mind, so the sixth sense, described in the next chapter, can function. These conditions consist of a close working alliance, a practical application of the mastermind. The procedure is simple. They sit at a conference table, clearly state the nature of the problem, and begin discussing it. Each contributes whatever thoughts occur. The strange thing about this method is that it places each participant in communication with unknown sources of knowledge, definitely outside his own experience. This method of mind stimulation, through harmonious discussion, illustrates the simplest and most practical use of the mastermind. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. Matthew 6:33. May the Lord bless you and guide you in every good work.